first things first, I wanted to talk about Battlefield 6 beta. I had a ton of fun playing the beta, and it looks like a bunch of other people did as well, with it being really popular. And I mean, Call of Duty was peaking at like 500,000, and Battlefield 6 caught up right next to it, proving that it could still compete and going back to an old formula that's got people from Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4 coming back to want to play it, and just making everyone eager to see what's next for shooters. To give you kind of an idea of what that looks like, I mean, if you go back and you look at Battlefield 2024, the car doesn't even blow up. You see that? Look at this. Boom. Nothing even blows up. We move over, fast forward to Battlefield 6. Not only do we blow up the car, we also take down the tree. Everything comes with it. We're getting everything in the kitchen sink with this game, and I think people are actually starting to feel it. Ex-Blizzard president Mike Ybarra believes Battlefield 6 will stomp Black Ops 7 and change Call of Duty for the better. Now, I agree with this. I do like competition between franchises, between companies. It just ends up being good for the consumers for the most part, in my opinion, because right now Call of Duty, I haven't really been impressed with Call of Duty since the more recent, I think it was like Modern Warfare 2. Really, I haven't necessarily been excited for a Call of Duty since even before that, if you want to think about it. Battlefield 6, I kind of skipped the other ones that came before it. Last time I had fun with Battlefield was really in Battlefield 4, and I am actually genuinely impressed with this game, and I think other people as well. Other people except for Activision, because Activision leadership isn't worried about Battlefield 6. They say Call of Duty is too big to fail. In some sense, they are correct. As much as I don't like hearing that, Call of Duty does end up being like a top seller every year, regardless. They keep pumping it out. And you know what? Even though they haven't been as innovative, they are consistent. I want to say it's kind of like playing a Super Mario game. You kind of know what you're going to get when you get a Call of Duty game. Now, I do think when it comes to more hardcore gamers, I used to work at GameStop. I know for a fact people would spend $400 to buy Call of Duty and 2K, and sometimes less than that. I know people will buy a console just to buy a game, and that's all they'll do, and that's all they'll play is one or two games on it. So the more diverse gamers who like to play both Battlefield and Call of Duty, this should be a kick to Call of Duty's teeth. This should light a fire under their ass, because what we want is for them to see that they lose some players, they lose some money, we take a bite out of what they make, and they want to push themselves to compete with Battlefield. That's what we want. Is it too big to fail? Yeah, necessarily. I don't think Call of Duty is going to go out of business. I don't think Activision's going to lose out. We're not going to start canceling Call of Duty, but I do think it's going to be enough to make them start changing things. We're not going to see it right away because these games come out off the pipeline. So that means they kind of set stuff up, and then, probably the next 2 or 3 Call of Duties are going to come out not as great as we want them to be, and we won't see change for another, maybe 2 or 3 years. And that's if this Battlefield 6 shows that, okay, well, we like where we're going, because they've already set up the games. They're already working on the games. Maybe they'll delay some other games and push some ones forwards so they can make those changes, but only time will tell. Something I do have to say about Battlefield 6, though. Battlefield 6 UI, if I had to critique one thing about the game, is that the UI was absolute garbage. I'm so sick of the Genshin Impact effect that has happened to all UIs across all video games. And what I mean by that is the battle pass look. They make all UIs look very similar. They make all UIs look very appealing, as if every game's gonna have a banner. If every game is trying to show off some gotcha mechanic, some battle pass way of looking at things. The UI in Battlefield 6 I just don't like it. Let's go back to how we used to have them, where we had words and the words took us somewhere. That's it. I don't need boxes next to boxes with pictures and pictures. Okay? Let's just keep it simple, nice, neat. Look, I hit the multiplayer button, I go to multiplayer. That's it. The game's been really fun. The movement, what has made the game really fun? Here's the thing that's made the game super fun, and it's that it's more grounded. That's what people are liking. The Call of Duty movement system does not exist. As I'm saying that, you're probably looking at this guy zoom around the map like a absolute insane person on meth, but I've seen like Shroud and some other top players kind of take advantage of the shotgun and take advantage of the movement system. When you're actually playing the game itself, wow, this quality is absolute garbage. There we go. When you're actually playing the game, most players aren't like that. As you can see right here, most people are getting their ankles broken as he's dancing around them. And I don't, if movement starts to become this crazy to where you are able to have 3 guys look at you and they're unable to do anything to you, and everyone starts playing like this, I hope they nerf it down. I'm okay if 1% of gamers, I think that's even too big of a number. I think the people that are capable of doing this aren't even the 1% of gamers. I think they're less than the 1% of gamers. If they're able to do this, by all means, let them do it. Let them clip farm. Let them have fun with it. That's cool. Most of the time, the movement system does not reward this type of gameplay. And just like any shooter you play, you're going to get kills if you position yourself correctly and if you don't put yourself out in the open. But the game's really grounded. That's what's brought a lot of popularity to it. There is a small fraction of people that have been able to break and abuse the movement system, but most players aren't playing that way. We'll see what happens next weekend in the beta. We'll see if more people figure out that movement system, but for the most part, it's a grounded game. There have been some issues, but this is what the beta's been for. It's not as buggy as other Battlefield games that have come out. I remember all the memes with Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4, and you guys remember that guy with the really long head where the glitch where you would lay down and you turn into a snake and you're just wobbling around? None of that kind of stuff was present. There are some minor things. Shroud found out there's some things where you bob up and down, but nothing too game breaking. I did find one, however. I probably should have grabbed that clip to show it here. I didn't think about it till just now. Where, like, tell me if this happened to you, where you crouched or you put your face into something and you just started clipping, and you were just clipping with that thing, and even though you're standing up and running around, you were seeing, like, if your face was in the tank, the ass of the tank just kept on clipping in your face nonstop, as if it was twerking up on you, and it didn't want to stop even though you left it. It was like a ghost twerk clipping effect that anything with the environment that you touch could happen to you at any moment. That was annoying, but it would go away, so I was okay with it, and hopefully that gets patched out. Stuff like that I hope gets fixed, but didn't ruin my experience. There was nothing about the game that truly ruined the experience or anything that just broke the game by itself. Now, what has kind of broken the internet? What has people talking about the game? Isn't the bugs. The gameplay was fun. It got 500,000 people to go to it. It had 800,000 views on Twitch with people watching it. It was actually the cheaters. We've had over 300,000 players cheating in the open beta. That's crazy. I knew cheating was a problem in gaming, and look, hey, back when I played, right now, you go look at my TikTok. You'll go see I got Stormtrooper aim, all right? I'm not the gamer I used to be. Back when I was 15 years old and I had all the time in the world to play games. But I also don't remember dealing with as many hackers, as many cheaters in multiplayer games back then either. This is wild. I knew it was bad, but I didn't realize it was this bad. Now, really, this person right here, the Riley, the cat person, cat girl, cat guy, is infamous right now for cheating. What has happened is we've watched this gameplay and we see a lot of flicking motions, a lot of just zooming in and people are calling him out for cheating. However, there are a bunch of people, as you can see in this case, saying he's not cheating, and that there's a whole subculture of people that are actually into this whole flicking type of gameplay. It's a very niche, and this is what people do. But right here at the 13-second mark, this is where I think a lot of people are having issues with the gameplay. And it's because we have Riley here, cat person, flicking right in to a wall. And it's like, bro, look at this. All right, we're aiming down. The wall's to our left. Quality's horrible. Boom, shoots a wall. Boom, shoots a wall. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't see it. Adjusting the aim, and this is where a lot of people are upset about it. Down, boom, aims the wall, finds the guy.
Flick straight at that guy through the wall.
Flick straight at that guy through the wall. So he even acknowledges it a little bit, but that's where you got iffy. Objectively, I don't know. I honestly don't know if he's cheating or not, guys. I don't know enough about aimbots or enough about that culture or enough about what's going on. Personally, if you want my personal opinion, I think so. I think he's cheating. Now, the cat girl and stuff like that, they ended up getting banned after they did a stream where they had they had like a hand cam, but then they got unbanned not long after that because it was apparently a lot of people were going through and saying that they were banned. It was just like abuse and things like that because they went so viral. However, not long after that, if you hate video game cheaters, you're transphobic. Now this is a cat girl. This, I don't know, this got very feminine, feline features going on here, but it's a very manly voice, as you probably heard in the clip before.
How much of this game have you played, though? Hey, teammate.
I may have exaggerated the very manly parts, but they do sound like a dude. Now, the next controversy that's come up has been the fact that, well, you call this person a cheater because you're transphobic. And really, that's just kind of like a straw man case right there. You're kind of just going around saying like, hey, deflecting the argument. And really, that's just not the point. But that has been the new thing. No longer are they defending them, saying that this is a niche group of shooters, but that everyone's transphobe for disliking them. So then another VTuber goes around and starts saying, oh, am I cheating because I do the same thing? Now, this one was interesting to me because they decided to show proof in a different type of game, saying in Apex Legends, you see how you can't aim like this. And everyone was like, wow, that's weird. It looks like you've edited the content. Looks like you've edited the clip. So my question was, why don't these people just go pro? Or why don't they push to go pro? Or why don't they? And yeah, you could say they don't have the desire to. I get that. Grinding one game endlessly is not for everybody. It's not everyone's cup of tea. But it's me showing me the one frame. I just don't, because it's not viable at all in all games. Like Apex, I can flick like that in literally any FPS. It's not hard to learn, and I probably have less than 30 hours practice in it this year. They ended up saying that this just doesn't work in the pro circuit. It's not viable to use with pros, and that it's just not good, and most of the time it actually just doesn't work. Whenever you do look at people who are playing this game, kind of normally, I should say,
and that's a feed.
You don't see the massive flick. Even this guy who's actually really decent at this game, you see how there's a little bit of time delay. There's that human delay that's going on. This guy isn't a pro or anything, and if you've ever watched TENS or you've watched Shroud, you've seen them flick, but even then, there's kind of like this refresh rate that the brain has to go on in order to do these resets. I've seen other players, and Call of Duty players have popped up being like, hey, look, this is what happens when Call of Duty players come out there. And I love that type of competitive nature is coming out. But even right here with Shroud, who is a pro, who we know to be a pro, more retired lately, comes in, turns, takes that guy out, flicks, but even he has this readjust moment. Even there's a bit like there's a bit of the human brain buffer that's happening whenever he goes and flicks and looks around. And there's an element of it that still just looks human. So that's why personally, I'm not all for it. The last deciding factor for anyone who has, you know, played competitive shooters and stuff like that, you can tell a lot from a cheater just by the way that they move and position themselves. A lot of these, the two things between these VTubers is a lot of the times they kind of just would walk into an area. They weren't using movement as a way to change the variable to which they shouldn't die. And what do I mean by that is they're not going crouch, jump, jump so that bullets don't shoot them. They kind of stand there and rely purely on their aiming skill, where I think when you see very high skilled players play, there's a combination of strategy, movement, aiming, tactics. Strategy and tactics, it's redundant, but you get where I'm going at with this. There's a lot of pieces that make the whole, whereas in this case, there's only one thing. It seems to be 90% aim ability and 10% just moving around the map. That's why personally, I do think they were cheating. They're using aimbot, but I have no proof of it, nor do I have any way of showing you guys that I have proof of it. But I do have proof as to why people are really just having fun playing this game, and it's not just made for cheaters and pros. The reason why a lot of us normal stormtroopers want to play this game is because you can go around and just defibrillate people to death. Why not? And honestly, you're not a true medic until you get a defibrillator kill. And this type of shenanigans and being able to both help your team, have fun, and do something wacky like this is why you come to Battlefield. Not only that, but also doing something crazy like taking an RPG, aiming it at a jet, and that's right, shooting it out of the sky. It's moments like these, moments like that, the opportunity for stuff like that to happen is what makes Battlefield so much fun and more to come back. And even though we all may not have aimbots, it doesn't mean we can't position ourselves in a perfect flank with a light machine gun and just mow down unsuspecting enemies. God, that's a good feeling that can happen to any player that plays this game, and is why Battlefield 6 ended up popping off so much. Tell me your thoughts on the game. Tell me where you think it's going to go. Are you going to be playing next weekend? And do you think VTubers are cheaters? Or at least this VTuber in particular is a cheater? Until next time, guys. Play nice, YouTube.